Time to unsub. No! Don't do it. No! I need all the subs I can get. No. Hello, Jamie. Hello, Decimation. Congrats. Thank you. Thank you for getting me here to this plateau, this mesa that I've crawled up. It has been quite the endeavor, quite the journey, and anybody and everybody that watches this have been the reason why I am here. Craig Jones, congrats on the 5K. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so very much for your awesome support and ability to watch my videos and whatnot. I wanted to, before I go into all the things I've got on this little notion here, I wanted to get a couple of questions in, and then I wanted to go into what I've got in plans. Been watching your Curse Rod guides for the past few months and just subbed today. I don't know why it took me so long. You know why it didn't take, or why it did take you so long? That is because, unfortunately, there's this funny thing on YouTube where if you don't tell people to sub, if you don't shout at the monitor, like, comment, subscribe, people don't do it. Fun fact, less than 30% of my viewers are subscribed to me. So that tells me that, you know, I'm doing it wrong. I've got a lot of people watching my stuff that do not subscribe. But thank you so much for subscribing in the end. Zadia, congrats. Thank you so very much. Smoke, congrats on the 5K sub. Thank you so very much. It's quite a milestone. I'm pretty excited about that. The number 5 just is this very evocative number, you know. Number 5 is a big deal. About to start running Dragon Heist, and your overview guides have been awesome to get me in the mindset. Thank you so much. That's the reason why I did those guides, is because those books are so ridiculous, and you reading them by yourself, because you don't want to bounce off your players, typically, is usually, you know, a thing where it's like, okay, I've got no one to bounce the ideas off of. Let me do the guides, and let me tell you about how I've ran it, or let me tell you about what to expect and all that. Maybe, you know, I think the guides are a great way to help people out with that. Helga, hi all. Hello, Helga. Thank you all for being here. Thank you so very much. Thank you, thank you. Another, what am I looking at here? I wanted to look at something. How do I look at it? I don't know how. But yeah, thank you all so very much for showing up here and doing all that fun stuff. Smokey, will you ever review 3-party stuff like Cobalt Press? I certainly have thought about it. I haven't gotten around to doing it because, quite frankly, I've been so incredibly busy. There's definitely a lot of good stuff to be had there. I think if I did do 3rd-party stuff like Cobalt Press, I don't think I'd go into nearly as much in-depth, discussion about it. Like, for example, being like, if I did like the Scarlet Citadel, that's a newish adventure thing that just came out. I would probably not go, 50 sessions or 50 videos like I did with Curse Strahd. But I certainly would be like, yeah, here's a general gist of how to run it and all that fun stuff. Could certainly do that. Robin, congrats on your goal. Thank you so very much. My goal isn't 5K, though. My goal is 1 million subs. Because the real trick here is, if you aim high, if you aim to the stars, then even if you score low, you're still getting something, right? If you aim low, you can't miss. That being said. So if I did aim low, then absolutely. I would be there. Snotty, you are awesome, dude. Congrats on the 5K. Thank you, Snotty. Oh my goodness. Kelvin, that is way too generous. That right there feeds me for today. Thank you so very much. That is, in fact, the first dono for me on the YouTubes ever. So I'll remember that forever and all the time. Kelvin, you are the first person, and as of right now, the only person to have ever donated to me. Thank you so very much. And bravo, thank you. Helga, you'll be up to 100k subs before you know it. I would certainly love that. I would certainly think that would be the bee's knees, cat's pajamas, dogs, woof. Prof Pone, hurry up and win. You know, Prof Pone, you can't come in here and use my own lines against me. That's my line. That's not your line. Oh my goodness, another dono. Decimation, thank you so very much. You're big shot now. Time to get a chair. I'll tell you what, with 10 bucks, I could get me a lawn chair. All right, with 10 bucks, I could get a lawn chair. Speaking of, with 15 bucks, I could definitely get a lawn chair. Helga, you deserve it. Great content. Oh my god, thank you so very much. Holy crapola. You guys are way too kind to me. Oh my goodness. You you know, if I might tear up. This is way too nice. Way too nice. Oh goodness. Decimation, and they roll in now. No way. Thank you for the floodgates have been opened. I'll tell you what, I don't need your donos right now. I am, you know, I am living, but every little bit does help. I will say that. And yeah, at this point I can get a lawn chair with a cup holder, so that's a pretty big deal here. I will say though, so money is obviously something that's very taboo, I think, for a lot of people to talk about, because at the end of the day, YouTubers, I'm not saying I'm a YouTuber, mind you. I'm just saying YouTubers in general, they need money to do what they're doing, and they have to do a lot of different avenues of revenue. So for me right now, my avenues of revenue are I'm getting paid for my outside job, I'm getting paid through YouTube, I'm getting paid through Patreon, and those really help. And apparently now I'm getting paid through streaming, so look at that. That's awesome. Money's always like finicky to talk about. I personally, I at the end of the day, I only want money to get me going. I only want money to fund and refund this stuff. Oh my goodness. My god. 28 bucks Canadian. Most donations, send them in, folks. NFA deserves them. Oh my god. Oh my god, don't do this to me. No. No. Oh no. Ah, that's way too kind, way too generous. Thank you so very much. Like I said, I'm not going to be throwing this money away frivolously. I am going to be using it to put it back into this channel. I'm going to be using it. Don't forget my OnlyFans. I got to plug my OnlyFans too. I got to do that. But, oh my god, thank you so very much, everyone. Wow. So I'm going to be taking this money, and I'm going to be reinvesting it back into the channel. I'm going to be, in regards of the things I'm going to be talking about pretty soon here, once I get past all this fun stuff, I'm going to be putting it back into the videos. I'm going to be putting it into the work that I'm doing. You know, if maybe if I do get a little bit frivolous, I will get the lawn chair. OnlyFans, no buns allowed. Okay, that's actually pretty freaking good there. That's pretty freaking good. You know, so funnily enough, I've not been on OnlyFans. I don't know anything about this, but can you post things that aren't sexual in nature? Like, could I be like a baker on OnlyFans and post like some fun things? Holy bejesus, decimation. Oh, $50. That is ridiculous. Oh my god. That is way too much. Thank you. Your rhyme of the Frost Maiden guides have been helpful, so helpful for me. You deserve it, and I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough. Right there, that alone made that whole guide series worth it. Right there. Holy bejesus. Y'all are way too kind. Y'all are way too good up in here. Oh my god. Maybe a better chair. You know, at this point, we're upgrading from a lawn chair to maybe one of those like hiking chairs that you take. Thank you so much. Holy crap. They tried to end NSFW on OnlyFans. Yeah, you can post whatever. There we go. So I know for a fact that on the P Hub, I'm not going to say the name out loud. I know for a fact that there's a guy who does like memes like, hey, I'm your cousin, and I'm your like stepbro, and I'll open the door for you because I'm a gentleman. Or, oh, hey, I'll do your laundry or whatever. So maybe I could be that niche on OnlyFans where I'm like, hey, I'll be cooking up some hot and spicy stuff today. I think that could be really cool. Decimation, awesome dude. That dono rocks. That dono rocks my world. Holy bejesus. Thank you so much. That is way too much. Congrats on 5K. Great Rhyme with Frost main videos from Bruce. Thank you so much, Bruce. Alrighty. Any last questions before I go? I'm going to be like kind of focusing on what I'm going to be talking about here. So if you've got any questions for me real quick, I'll get to those. And then I can show off what some fun successes I've got going on, and be diving into all of that. Soon, maybe one of them new game chairs like from IKEA. You know, I'm that kind of person that goes to IKEA and I basically like try and like think to myself, man, I could live in this IKEA. Like I'm like, oh man, you know, oh if I combine that bed with that living room, oh that'd be so great. And then I never buy anything because I'm poor. But a gamer chair would be awesome because unfortunately what ends up happening is because I sit on the ground for doing these videos, immediately after I get done sitting on the ground, I've got to go exercise, I've got to go run around because my posture is terrible when I'm sitting down, and you know, obviously the cold hard ground totally hurts my backside, you know. It's an unfortunate one of those things. Alrighty. Absolutely. God dang, I can't thank y'all enough. That was an incredible amount of just help you guys. As you guys are saying, I've helped you with your adventures. You have all helped me in the adventure that is life. Alrighty. So without further ado, let's kick off this first little portion here. So what we got going on here is, oh god, oh don't click on that. Whatever I do, don't click on that. Alrighty. So first things first, what we've accomplished so far. So in the span that has been my channel was born on September 13th of 2020, and the reason why my channel was born is because, quite frankly, I was bored. I had a bit of extra time on my hands, and a whole bunch of people told me, a whole bunch of people in my friend group told me I should start a channel. So I did it. Flash forward the year and the year and 2 months after, I have now 5,080 subs. I think I just checked and I'm actually at 5,090 subs, so maybe a little dent there. 5,090 subs. So very awesome stuff there. 5,090 subs in the span of a year and change. That is phenomenal. That is obviously nowhere near as good as like some crazy people, but I'm not going to compare myself to the top 0%ers. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to compare myself to basically just what I suspected was going to happen, and I did not suspect I'd get 5K. So there's that. In the span of that year and change, I was granted a whopping 500,000 views. 500,000. 500,000. My videos have been viewed 500,000 times. So that is absolutely insane to me. Between all the subs watching me, and as I said before, only 30% of my viewers are subbed to me. You know, that is still a tremendous amount of views. So totally freaking badass there. Fun fact about this next coming one, 318 videos on my channel. So the fun aspect of that one is I actually have more videos on the channel. It's just that some of them are unlisted. The videos that are currently unlisted on my channel would be videos that I wasn't very proud of, and like I had them up for a bit of time and then got rid of them. They were kind of like situational things, or one of the biggest aspects is my quiz series. I did 2 quiz videos, and those were each 50 videos, but only one was public. So that means there is 48 times 2, so 90. No, 49. So that'd be 98 videos that are unlisted on my channel. So if I listed those, that'd actually be a lot more. So very interesting fun facts there. And 98,000 hours watched. 98,000 hours. That's a lot of freaking hours. That is, I don't even know the math on how much in world time that is off the top of my head, but that's a lot of freaking hours. Is that even close to a year? I'm going to do the quick math on that real quick, sees. I got my calculator out. Let's take a look. So, 98,000 divided by 24, let's say. That's 4,000 days? Mamma mia. That's a lot of freaking things watched. So very, very proud about that. That was a tremendous thing to like look at and see all the stats for all of that. So thank you all for that journey. Alrighty, let's take a look at some fun things. At least pick up a pillow. You know, I might have to get a pillow because once again, the cold hard ground sucks. Only compare yourself to past self. See the growth, change, and keep moving forward. Absolutely, that's what I do. Fun fact, my first set of videos sucked. I did not know how to look at the camera. I did not know how to talk to the camera. I didn't know how to enunciate things. I said too much. I said like too much. I said go ahead. I said go ahead quite a lot. in specifically, I think my in the stupid Waterdeep Dragonized. In the Waterdeep Dragonized series, I said go ahead way too much. So going back and looking at all those things, I'm very, very glad that I've done that. Rivers RPG, what's up? What is up, Rivers? What is up? I am regaling the story of my channel, and in a little bit here, I'll be teasing the future things to come for the channel and myself, I guess. Decimation, just 102 more videos until we get video 420. Like I said, I could unlist all my videos, and I could get there. I could easily get there. Yes, the quiz videos are cool. So, fun thing about the quiz videos, I thought they were going to be awesome. But here's the sad nature of that. YouTube punishes you for having videos that are unlisted get views. So, what that means is, basically, so my quiz series, I just took a look at it. The first one, the Player's Handbook Basic Quiz. That got the first of the videos, like the quiz series, got 600 views, which is not bad. But more importantly was the fact that the entirety of that series, because of all the videos they had to flip through, it generated thousands of views. And I thought to myself, man, all of a sudden, like in a day, I got thousands of views. That must be awesome, right? Well, no. YouTube does not actually like you getting views on unlisted videos. So, unfortunately, the idea behind the quiz series where you click between all these different things and get different results, that is a very cool theory, but YouTube does not reward you for that. So, unfortunately, I don't know if I'm going to do any more of those. If I do any more quiz series, I think the unfortunate thing would be is it would have to be just a singular long video, which I think is not fun. I don't think it's as cool, but YouTube deems what content is there, and thus, you know, it is what it is. Also, very importantly, is YouTube does not hold your hand at all for linking videos together. You have to go back to each individual one, and you've got to do this thing where you got to link, you know, the video back to it, but you can only do so many things at one time. It's an absolute pain, but it is what it is. 98,000 hours is 11 plus years. 11 plus years of my content being watched. That's totally awesome. Thoughts on Fizzbands? Part of me wishes that they added a Dragon Warlock. I'll tell you what, coming up here, I am definitely going to be releasing a Dragon Patron thing for my D&D zine, but we'll be getting to that in a moment. My thoughts on Fizzbands is totally awesome, but, it is unlike the other monster manuals, like Volo's Guide and Mordenkainen's Guide, in that the other ones had a nice scattering, a nice array of different creatures and things to it. Fizzbands is for nerds that love dragons, which, if you are a nerd that loves dragons, Fizzbands is the way to go. But the unfortunate thing is that if you do not care as much about the dragons portion of Dungeons and Dragons, then sadly it doesn't have that much of a redeeming quality to it. So my thoughts on Fizzband is it's a decent book, but it's very polarizing, I think, compared to some of the other books. Pyram King, I enjoy your videos. Thank you so much, Pyram. YouTube sucks sometimes. It does, unfortunately. YouTube giveth, YouTube taketh away. YouTube is basically this large thing that, YouTube's odd. YouTube's odd is what I'll say. Could you make the initial video Patreon only? That way, if people are enticed by it, you can at least guarantee you're getting some funds. Could you make the initial video Patreon only? The initial video. What do you mean by the initial video? That way, if people you can at least guarantee you're getting some funds. Oh, are you talking about the quizzes? If you're talking about the quizzes, that's certainly a thing I could do. But I'll wait to see what you exactly mean. Savory, heart emojis. Rivers. I may have to get Fizzbands because I dig dragons. It's definitely worthwhile if you dig dragons. Whole bunch of fun things about extra dragons, about draconoid-like creatures, about fun things to do with magical items. There is the subclasses, though I don't think that the book is worthwhile just getting for the player options. This is not a player-heavy book. This is definitely a for-the-table kind of book. Craig. Fizzbands is my favorite 5e book, but I doubt much of it will ever see play in any of my group campaign. Kryn is my favorite world, and seeing all the connections to it was great. Absolutely. That's my biggest issue, I think, with Fizzbands, is I think that it's going to be something that a lot of people, grab it, and then they maybe get inspired by it, but you essentially have to basically warp a whole campaign into it to actually use the book, right? And fun facts about 5e, Wizards of the Coast estimates that 50% of people run pre-made modules. And fun fact about the pre-made modules, only one of them pretty much actually deals extensively with dragons. So, is the rest of them going to see, editions of Fizzbands thrown into it? Who knows? Jamie, for the quiz? Maybe. I will say, I've got Patreon exclusive content coming out, so I don't know if I'll resort to having quizzes be like that. But as I'll be getting into in a moment here, the Patreon stuff is coming. Pyram, you can make a teaser video and then the quizzes for Patreon only. So the unfortunate thing about me is I'm really bad at selling myself. Funny, I know, considering the whole point of YouTube and Patreon is to sell yourself. I'm really bad at it. I'm not good at coming up with teasers. I'm not good at coming up with, oh, hey, if you like this video, you should check out the other video. I'm really, really bad at that. So I don't know if I could justify trying to come up with teasers to be like, hey, if you want a quiz, then check out my Patreon. But that being said, I am going to be full in on selling my D&D zine, which I'll be getting to in a moment once I get done with this last little questions here. Absolutely nuts about the Elder Dragon Brain. Elder Brain Dragon. Absolutely, Elder Brain Dragon's dope. Oh yeah, that is one creepy dragon. So fantastic. I think you do a good job. Thank you. Thank you so very much. So, speaking of things that are coming up, let's talk about that. So, what am I working on right now? And let me double check to see if I've got to get a little look here. What do I got going on right now? I've got some things in works because I'm working. These boots were made for working, and that's just what I'll do. One of these days, I'll be working right on over you. So what am I working on right now? First things first, I'm working on the Wild Beyond the Witchlight guide series. The series is close to an end because the Wild Beyond the Witchlight is actually an incredibly short adventure. As written, it is one of the shortest adventures in all of 5th edition. But I am working on that. I just came out with a video the other day. I've got the rest of the videos coming out soon. And then I'm pretty much done with that series. So Wild Beyond the Witchlight is coming, but it's coming out a little bit slower because I want to run it. I want to run these things before I actually put videos out on it. And my group that I'm running through Wild Beyond the Witchlight, they are 1 or 2 sessions away from finishing this campaign. So I am very much confident with everything that I've reviewed so far. So there's that. Well, also things I'm working on right now is the quick DM advice. As you could probably tell on my channel, I've been coming out with daily videos on these quick DM advice, where I'm just basically looking at a whole bunch of different grab bags of things to discuss in regards of our D&D table, in regards of what are our thoughts on running the game, in regards of the in-game versus out-of-game. I'm throwing out a whole bunch of things because I wanted to get people thinking. Let me take a look at my channel here in regards of all the videos that have come out recently. This week alone, I came out with, is PC death bad? Using theater of the mind, be ready on your turn, failing forward, make boss fights awesome, does horror work in the game? The best way is to make PCs. So I basically just wanted to get people to think, and that's basically just the nature of it. I want to get people thinking about, what is the best way to make PCs? Does horror work in D&D? How do you make boss fights awesome? Etc., etc. So that has been the idea behind the Quick DM Advice series. I've got a few more in store, but then I'm going to transition to other types of videos, but I'll be getting into that in regards to the future. So in regards of beyond just the videos that I'm working on for my channel, I'm also writing adventures for other people. So in regards to that, I am currently a freelance writer. I have got a air quote steady-ish job of writing stuff for other people, and I'm getting paid for it. And this is a pretty awesome way to flex my creative muscles. It's a great way to try and get my name circulated. It's a great way to earn money. It's a lot of great things. So writing adventures for other people is currently taking up some time for me because I like to write a lot. I'm trying to bust out at least 2,000 words a day. And writing adventures for other people is a great way to get rewarded, both from a fiscal perspective, a physical perspective, a mental perspective, a lot of those fun things. Another thing that I'm working on is I'm working on a mega dungeon. So in addition to the other things I'm working on, I'm slowly working on a mega dungeon adventure that I want to release for both 5th edition and old school play. This mega dungeon has a theme that you are trapped in this dungeon and you're trying to escape. I find that with a lot of mega dungeons, the theme is you keep going back into it again and again and again and again and again and again. And what ends up happening is, I think a lot of people never finish mega dungeons because that theme of going back into these mega dungeons again and again and again might get stale. I think that mega dungeons are really cool on paper, really cool designed, having 1,000 rooms to explore, having a whole bunch of themes to interact with, a whole bunch of factions to duke it out with is fun. But the overall theme of the game, basically just having a drive of adventure, may not sit well with every table. So my idea with my mega dungeon is that the theme of the game is that you're trying to go back home. But at the same time, you're also interacting with the denizens of this mega dungeon so that at least alleviates some of the in-between. So I'm definitely, I'm going to share more with that once I've got more to share that I'm willing to share. I've already put a lot of work into that so far, but I'm definitely going to put a lot more work in there. I've got, I guess as a little teaser here, I've got some hex thing that I've got going on here, and I'm working on that. I don't know if that's coming out well because it takes a minute to check it out there, but I've got some things working. I've got some hexes. I've got all these factions written up. I've got all these fine details. So I'm working on that, and I'll be showing and sharing more of that later. And lastly here, what I'm working on right now is the No Fun Allowed D&D zine. as of right now, pending title NFA Zine. I have a bunch of working titles that I could potentially lean in on, and before the release, I am going to be pitching out the best ideas to see what fits everyone's fancy. I've got such names as unfortunately, a terrible one that was pitched to me was No Fun Monthly, but I'm not going to be using that one. I just think that one's absolutely hilarious, though. I've also got names such as No Fun's Guide to Everything. I'd have to look at the list, but I don't have the list on me at this current moment in time. But I've got a bunch of things for that. I'm working on the first article, the first monthly release, which should be coming out in January. And the idea behind that monthly zine is that once a month, around the middle-ish of the month, you are given a awesome zine that is flavorful, jam-packed full of themes in regards of an overarching theme for that month. It's going to have random rollable tables. It's going to have monsters. It's going to have quests. It's going to have NPCs. It's going to have monsters. It's going to have spells. It's going to be a grab bag of things. Mind you, not every single zine is going to have all of those in one. There's going to be like one might have some subclasses and then some magical items, and then the next one might have like more of it might be taken up by like a multi-page dungeon, things like that. But you will be told ahead of time, and there will be a teaser for each one of those. So that is what I'm currently working on right now. And let's go back to chat, shall we? Will you play or cover other non-5e RPGs? I have covered non-5e RPGs in the past, and I certainly plan on doing so in the future. But the thing is there's a lot to cover with non-5e RPGs, and it does take a little bit of time because I like to cover what makes the game system tick. I like to cover what makes it special. I like to cover, different aspects of it. And that does take a decent amount of time if I want to convey that properly. The unfortunate nature of the world right now is there are thousands and thousands of fantastic tabletop role-playing game systems. Thousands. But 5e is king. 5e is absolutely the undisputed champion, and people want to play 5e. And we are in this weird world where people would much rather homebrew the bejesus out of 5e than they would be willing to pick up another system. I personally think that people should be more open-minded and willing to try out other game systems rather than just homebrew the bejesus out of 5e. But it just comes down to this thing of most people want to stick with one thing. Most people would much rather stick with what they know than pick up something else. Can we get some D&D stories on your OnlyFans? That would be fun. So now I'm thinking of this OnlyFans thing. So this OnlyFans is me doing cooking or whatever. And as I'm cooking or baking or doing whatever, I'm sharing some fun D&D stories. I think that could be absolutely hilarious. I think that would be a fun time. Alex, yo, nice couch. Thank you. People come for the couch. People stay. I'll tell you, people stay for the couch. Maybe people come for the video, but they stay for the couch. Okay, this couch is baller. What OSRs do you like? The OSRs that I currently enjoy are Old School Essentials, Dungeon Crawl Classics, and Astonishing Swordsman and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. There's plenty of other OSRs that I like, but some of them, require a bit more finagling. Some of them require a bit more work and effort to run. The thing I love about OSR is the simplicity of it. But I think that there's a bunch of people trying to make OSR type systems that add a bunch of complexity where it doesn't need to be. For those of you that don't know, OSR is the old school revival or the old school renaissance. It's essentially games that mimic first edition-ish D&D. I know a lot of people have heard that old school D&D was complex. I know a lot of people have heard that old school D&D was not fun. But the thing to consider is fun is subjective, first and foremost. And secondly, original D&D was not complex. D&D only added a supreme level of complexity when it got to advanced Dungeons & Dragons. That's when you got into these weird, finicky numbers. That's when you got into all these crazy, crazy random tables and stuff. I think that original D&D is actually very, very easy to pick up because, for starters, the very beginning of D&D, only 3 classes. There was the fighting man, the cleric, and the magic user. There wasn't even a thief right in the beginning. All weapons did a d6 of damage, so very, very simple. As a magic user, you didn't have any cantrips. You only had a few number of spells. So the game was super, super simple to pick up. If you played 5e, you can easily play the Brown Book original D&D. But it's when you get to Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, that's when you get into the, okay, you're picking up a newish system. It's got these different rules about it. Ever consider doing anything in Eberron? I certainly have considered it. The unfortunate nature is that Eberron, much like all the other settings, is not going to get love from Wizards of the Coast. As sad as that sounds, that is the unfortunate nature of the truth. The unfortunate nature is that Wizards of the Coast is basically marrying themselves to Faerun, and more specifically, the Sword Coast. The Forgotten Realms is this kitchen sink, generic fantasy setting that they throw all of their adventures in, that they throw all of their support in. And I know for a fact, Wizards of the Coast does not want to fall into the same trap that TSR did. They do not want to be making 18 books a year that cover different aspects of the game. If you go back all the way to 2nd edition D&D, you can look and see that at any given time, they were supporting, I think it was close to a dozen different settings. There was Greyhawk, there was, I'm already blanking on all these names. There's Spelljammer, there's Planescape, there's Al-Qadim, there's Dark Sun, there's Ravenloft, there's this. There's all these different settings. And unfortunately, what ends up happening is, if you create this hobby, so like let's take a look at 5th edition, when you jump in, you know what's going on. You know for a fact that, okay, everyone's playing in this one world, easy peasy. But think now to a world where we have 5th edition, where they're coming out with adventure modules that take place in Eberron, and adventure modules that take place in, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on all the other things? Theros, in Ravnica, and coming up here, I guess, Wildmount. If they have all these different adventures coming out, people are going to be intimidated. Rip Birthright, yes. People are going to be showing up to the hobby confused, and more importantly, scared. People are going to be scared if they show up to the hobby and there's too many things going on. So I personally think Eberron's awesome. I think Eberron's great for what it does. But unfortunately, Wizards of the Coast is not willing to do anything more than introduce one book one time. That's the end of story. In fact, as of to date for 5th edition, the only time that a world has been given 2 books has been Critical Role. But you and I both know why Critical Role deserves extra books. It's because they make the money and they're huge. Unfortunately, Eberron is not as big. Unfortunately, Dark Sun's not as big. Birthright's not as big. All these things are not as big. And that is the sad, sad nature of the truth. I would cover Eberron a bit more, but not terribly so. Have you thought about including your own homebrew rules in your zine? Yes, that is a major portion of my zine. I'm going to be introducing fun mechanics and rules for the table, included in are going to be things such as rules for henchmen, hirelings, retainers, and followers, rules for resting, rules for blood magic, rules for magical corruption, rules for... I've got a lot of things in the works. Don't you worry. And I will be teasing these things out once I am near complete with the full package. I hated THAC0. I played BX most of the time in the 80s and only played a little bit AD&D. Here's the thing. THAC0 was brilliant for when it came out. THAC0 was incredibly smart when it was conceived. That being said, Ascending Armor class is infinitely better in every single way, shape, or form. So I don't blame you for hating THAC0. I respect THAC0 for what it did, but would I play a game? There's only one game where I play THAC0 anymore, and that is Astonishing Swordsman and Sorceress of Hyperborea. Every other game, I do Ascending Armor class, baby. It's so it just makes life simple. Heroth, you inspired me to DM the Tomb of Annihilation after being afraid because of the unusual hex roll, and my table is loving it. Thank you. Thank you for running it and making it awesome, because as I mentioned, Tomb of Annihilation's my baby. In fact, I always have Tomb of Annihilation right here because I love it so much. Tomb of Annihilation is this beautiful artwork in my mind. Tomb of Annihilation is essentially a canvas with the paint sitting in the corner, and it's waiting for you to draw it. And that's what I like about it. It separates itself from a lot of the other adventure modules where it's already a painted piece, and you are simply stepping into this painted world. Tomb of Annihilation, you not only create this world with your own brushstrokes, but then you step into it, and you can make it feel so real and lived in. I absolutely love it. I'm a narc, rip Birthright, absolutely. you know, like I said, a lot of different game styles, a lot of different themes. Unfortunately, the things are not going to make a comeback, and that is the cold hard nature of the truth. Thanks for answering my questions. It is late here, need to go to bed. Hey, sleep is kind of one of the most important things you'll ever do. So I highly encourage it. Let me get some drinks here. I appreciate your thoughts on Eberron. I hope they at least give nods or possible ties to the settings. I know they do in Fizzbands, Thoughts, Martian, and Portal. Yeah. So interesting thing there. It was at one point this thing where when they have these modules, they say, hey, if you're running this adventure in the land of da-da-da, here are the adjustments you can make. And in fact, if you go through all the 5e lineup there at one point used to be a whole page dedicated to that, essentially. And it basically would be like, okay, if you're running this in the land of Greyhawk, then place this adventure here and change these named locations. If you're running this in the world of Eberron, then place it here, change these named locations. And even though those were typically just a paragraph for each little world, that showed that they cared. Even if it wasn't that impactful and you probably were going to do that anyway, or you were going to bounce some ideas off someone else anyway, the fact that they were willing to dedicate even a single page to that showed that they recognize that people are playing in different worlds and people are willing to amend these modules. But unfortunately, a bunch of the 5e modules do not have that. Or a lot of the 5e books don't have this little page of, hey, if you're running it in this world, do this. Which is unfortunate. D&D does not have to be a singular monolithic thing, right? D&D does not have to take place in this one massive world that we all add to. D&D should be whatever it is that we make it. And it should be more than just one thing. When we look at, the difference between Eberron and Forgotten Realms here, Forgotten Realms is high fantasy, and then Eberron is near gonzo high fantasy. I'm willing to bet that the majority of people like Forgotten Realms more, but there's obviously a market for Eberron. There's obviously a lot of people. And Wizards of the Coast should recognize that there are these markets. They recognize that with Van Richten's Guide to Everything, right? They recognized that a lot of people love Curse of Strahd, so they pumped out a book all about the realms of terror, the domains of dread. Makes sense. So I hope Wizards of the Coast leans more into what they see, I love the fact that TOA has always been watching us in every video. TOA is always lurking there. It's always just sitting there. It's always just leaning, Got a little eye poking out. So it's, TOA knows. TOA knows. Now, the interesting thing, though, is I've had a ton of fun running Wild Beyond the Witchlight. I've had an absolute blast of running Wild Beyond the Witchlight. But the real question is, does Wild Beyond the Witchlight supplant Tomb of Annihilation as the best module in my eyes? That remains determined because I have not completed Wild Beyond the Witchlight yet. I will say it will be a very close contender. That being said, though, I think that TOA has a lot of things going on for it versus Wild Beyond the Witchlight. What it has going for it is good, but it has less things going for it. That's what I'll say. Alrighty, 1 more minute of questions, and then I'll be getting into what I plan for the future here. So if you guys got any burning questions, feel free to ask them, and then I'll be getting to it. And as a friendly reminder, thank you all for just being here. Thank you so much for watching, for sharing my videos with the other people. Thank you so much for subbing. Thank you to my wonderful patrons. Thank you to the people that donated to this video. My God, that was absolutely incredible. Like, literally anything helps. I will tell you, literally anything helps. You just being here helped. And mind you, that is both for the live viewers and for the people that for some reason may listen to this later. This helps me tremendously. It's astounding, honestly, how much it helps. So thank you for that. Alrighty. So for future things here, what I plan for the future. Let's take a look here. So first things first, what I plan for the future, the NFA Zine. As mentioned before, I'm going to be doing some good work for that. Good is subjective. I'll do what I think is good work for it. So basically, I'm going to have a structural outline. Like I said, it's going to include X number of things. Each magazine is going to have anywhere between, I suspect anywhere between maybe 8,000 to 20,000 words in it. It really depends on the individual zine. Some zines are just going to be naturally more word intensive. But like I said, each zine, each month is going to be a theme. So one monthly theme could be Fae themed, and then one could be Shadowfell, and then one could be all about cities. One could be about taverns. One can be about heat. One could be about the cold. One could be about basically just on and on and on. And then I don't plan on leaning too heavily into each month's theme, mind you, because I think that would be a little bit too, gimmicky. But it will be there. So, for example, being if I do a Wintry Wonderland themed monthly zine, then yeah, there's going to be some magical items that are tied to cold damage, and there's going to be some rollable tables all about dealing with blizzards and dealing with the cold and all that stuff. But it won't be just like literally every word is pouring about use this theme, because I want to insert generic stuff that you'll use on a regular basis as well. So in that regard, there's going to be magical items, there is going to be subclasses, there is going to be I'm also going to have generic, not generic necessarily, but I'm going to have articles talking about facets of our game, about how we can incorporate certain themes in our game, about how we can incorporate ideas in the game, and also just articles getting you to think about how you run your game. Articles about, hey, is there something that's been nagging you for some reason? Is there, have you been running the game like a one way and you want to run it another way? Or, oh, hey, if you've got a problem at the table, what are some ways we can resolve that? I want to include articles like that. Also, very, very importantly is I'm going to have one-page dungeons. I'm going to have maps. I'm going to have mini adventures. I'm going to have a whole bunch of quest hooks, rollable tables galore. I'm going to have a bunch of those things. So it's going to be a nice grab of a whole bunch of different things. And the zine is going to be very much so a way to... It's going to be a very simple thing to pick up. You read through. Maybe you don't use everything, but that's fine. Because over the course of time, you get a bunch of these different zines, and then boom, you've got a whole bunch of fun rollable tables, you got a whole bunch of fun subclasses, you got a whole bunch of fun this and that, you got a whole bunch of various things. So very much forward looking to that. D&D Shorts. So, YouTube is competing with TikTok. And the way they're doing that is through YouTube Shorts. Now, with shorts, the idea is you record a video and it's a very, not flat, but it's a condensed thing. It's 1 minute and you just do whatever. Now, YouTube has a way of promoting your videos. And more importantly, they have a different way of promoting shorts. So if I made 2 videos, and I'm saying these are literally the exact same videos, but one of them is a short and one of them is not, the short is going to do better. The short is far more likely to be spread about to more people. The short is far more likely to be repeat viewed. The short is more likely to end up in people's boxes that don't even know about D&D. So my plan for D&D shorts is I've got a whole bunch of fun topics to do shorts about. Because, of course, my normal videos, I could not make shorts of. I'm not going to... Do not worry, folks. I am not going to do adventure module guides in 1 minute. I might do book reviews in 1 minute. In fact, I've actually got this list here. But I'm not going to be doing adventure module guides in 1 minute because that sounds god-awful. Some of the shorts I have in mind are as follows. Covering D&D stats. Covering the books in 1 minute. A series on, my player says this, what do I do? A series on, I hate this about the game. Let's do an encounter in 1 minute, or 1 minute encounters. Let's make an item in 1 minute. I plan on doing parodies. I plan on doing, let's make PCs in 1 minute. Let's make a monster in 1 minute. And various such things. So basically a genre of things that make sense for 1 minute that are able to grab people. And I want to try these out for a bit of time because they're a ton of fun. They are a fun way to get D&D into the hands of people that have shorter attention spans. It's a great way to get D&D into the minds of people that normally don't think about it as much. And I think most important of all is when you limit yourself to less time for covering a topic, you can truly be more concise. If you told me I could cover a encounter in any amount of time versus covering an encounter in 1 minute, I'm going to, if I'm running it for the X amount of time, I'm going to drag my feet for a bit. I'm going to basically be talking about, oh, and then there's this, and oh, there's that. But if I only have the 1 minute, I'm going to truly dissect the most important aspects of it and deliver it. And I think that is a very genuine way to deliver a clear, concise, and most important of all, best product to the viewer. So while I do have a whole bunch of different things on shorts, one of the ones I'm going to be diving into the most is 1 minute encounters. Talking about, oh, hey, here's this encounter using this monster, using this environment. Let's mash it up, and this is how it works. Here's the mechanics. And I only convey the important bits, and I make it a fun thing that you can totally utilize. So that is in the works there. What do I plan for the future? My next 5e module to cover. So currently right now, I'm working on Wild Beyond the Witchlight. After that, what the heck am I working on? I've got a whole bunch of different requests for a whole bunch of different modules. I see a lot of people want Ghost of Saltmarsh. I see people want Descend to Avernus. I see people want, I think like one of the other big ones people want to see covered is Out of the Abyss. Tales from the Unknown Portal. I haven't seen that much desire for anything from Horde of the Dragon Queen or Rise of Tiamat. I haven't seen that much desire about Prince of the Apocalypse. I have seen some people request Storm King's Thunder. But what one am I going to be covering? Well, funnily enough, I might be covering Strixhaven as soon as it comes out, because Strixhaven comes out in the span of 2 weeks or so. But Strixhaven's not going to be a long one. We have been informed that Strixhaven's not a tremendously long adventure. It is more so a Harry Potter style adventure. So what module am I going to be covering next? I am going to mark it down to 3, and then I'm probably going to have a poll for it. It was much more leaning toward doing Tales from the Unknown Portal next. Like right there for me, that's probably the one I'm going to do. But if I don't have that inclination for whatever reason, then I will put up a poll and see what people like. So that's that for my next module. What I plan for the future, running games for the community. So recently, some more free time has been diverted toward me because, you know, making the videos takes only so much time, and then writing only takes up so much time. There's only so much writing I can do in a day before I get burnt out. But running games for the community. I want to run some games for y'all because y'all are worth running games for. So if you join my Discord, in a few days, I'm going to be posting up about various games that I'm going to be running for the public. And I'll be posting about when those games are. Those are going to be drop in, drop out sort of games where you can just hop in, have a good time, and that's the end of story. In the future, I do plan on making a full-blown West Marches game that is a full-blown, like a whole community sort of event. I'll be doing that in a bit, though. I have to get the full deets on that because I need to figure out my full schedule of what's going on in the future. And if I get that hashed out, then I will definitely do a West Marches game. But before then, just some fun drop-in, drop-out games is going to be the way to go. And lastly, what I plan for the future, more live streams, question mark? I'm not opposed to more live streams. I just don't do them for whatever reason. I think they're definitely a lot of fun to interact with all y'all. I think they're definitely a lot of fun to do. And something I've actually seen quite a lot is a lot of people want to see me live stream games. It seems that a lot of people actually want to see me run games so that they can get a sense of how to run games. And to that degree, I'm probably going to give in. I'm probably going to either record or live stream some games so I can get so I can appease the people, appease the masses, as it were. So that is definitely in the works there. I know I should get some absolute calendar of like, okay, I'm always going to stream on this day at this time. As of this current moment, I don't have a 100% schedule of what's going on, but I think I'm going to be able to get a handle of that soon. And once I do, I might do weekly live streams or maybe bi-weekly or something along those lines. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, that's what I plan for the future. Let's go back to the comments here. I really think this will help your channel to grow. I'm super excited to see your channel in the coming up next year. I certainly hope it comes up next year. Fun fact about YouTube. It is typically the case that it's not a casual climb. It is not a typical straight line. What ends up happening is you build momentum. And then you start off as a tiny little snowball, and then you become an avalanche. So the difference being is, okay, in the span of 1 year, in particular, in exactly 1 year, I got to 4K subs, I believe. I'll double check on that. But it very may well be the case that maybe year number 2, instead of only getting 4K subs, maybe I get more. Maybe. Who knows? I don't exactly know. That may happen. I certainly hope it does. Salt Marsh. Salt Marsh is a good one. The thing, I'll tell you this. Saltmarsh and Tales from the Yawning Portal are so great from my perspective because I love the old school modules. I do plan on covering the old school modules at some point, but something to note is those old school modules are so freaking good. They have a lot of fine details in them. And the best part is, those old school adventure modules were not 200 pages, not 300 page tomes. Those old school modules were like this. I've got this little adventure here. I'll show it off for you. It's a cute one. It's a Dungeon Crawl Classics, The Doom That Came to Christmastown. This one, basically, these little adventure pamphlets I got going on here, which, by the way, I've got even more, like this. These ones are anywhere between 10 to 20, maybe 40-ish pages. These things are great. Fan-freaking-tastic. Because what ends up happening is, when you pick up an adventure module, you're married to that module for a long time. That's what I love about these. These things you're not married to for a long time. These things are great little adventures, whether you run them for one session, 2, 4, 5, whatever, however long it takes. The fact that in the span of only a few pages, you can get a decent adventure out of it is fantastic. I totally love how 5e went back and said, hey, we recognize that there's these great iconic blasts from the past. We're going to take those and make them good. And they did well. They picked some great adventures and they 5e'd them up. Can I ride you so I can be your leader? Now I am your leader now. How's it going, Drex? And Dirty D, as nobody calls you. How is it going? Soon you'll be big enough to have 2 chairs. Could you imagine me going from sitting on the cold hard ground to all of a sudden having 2 whole chairs? My God. That could very well be the case. I should do like a room tour at some point because my room tour would be over pretty quickly. But just generally, how my room works right now, I cannot have a chair. It just wouldn't work. I hope in the future I can amend this situation. I certainly hope so. But I basically have to change up the whole function of my room, and it's not on the cards right now. But I'll tell you what, because of those donos, that certainly helps out. that bumped, basically, I had this loading bar of, oh, you'll get chairs in 97 years. And then all of a sudden those donos went, shortened that down immensely. So thank you for all those donos. Thank you so much. Alrighty, so yeah, I covered the things that, as a recap here, what I accomplished so far, got some fun stuff in the past year and change, all those views and subs and hours and all that fun stuff. What I'm working on now, what's going on right now behind the scenes, I'm working on the Witchlight stuff, I'm pumping out all this quick DM stuff, I'm working for other people, I've got a mega dungeon going on, I'll be teasing more later. I've got the zine, which I will definitely be sharing in the upcoming month. And then, of course, what I plan for the future, I'm going to be selling that zine, let me tell you. I'm going to be hawking that to everybody I can, saying, hey, for just this low price, you can get a whole grab bag of great goodies for your role-playing game. I'm going to have the D&D shorts because 1 minute is the ticket to success these days. Mind you, my whole channel isn't going to just transition to shorts. I'm still going to be doing the adventure module guides, of course. It's just that I'm going to be replacing like the quick DMs with just... It's going to go from quick DM series of 5 minutes or so down to 1 minute. The next module we'll cover, like I said, I was leaning toward Tales from the Yawning Portal, but I'll be putting up a poll more than likely. Running games for the community, and those live streams. I'm going to be doing some more live streams. Maybe it'll be Maybe on some sort of weekend. Maybe it'll be some sort of weekday. Probably somewhere around there. I'm willing to bet that if I do a live stream, it's going to be anywhere between Friday to Monday. It's probably not going to be Tuesday to Thursday, if I'm willing to bet. But I'll just have to wait and see about that. Oh boy, how long have I been going on for? I started at 6:30. No, 6:30. Well, maybe I started for 6:30 at some people. I started at 2:30 at my own time, so I've been going for an hour. Pretty good. I'll be going for another maybe 20 minutes-ish here. So if any of y'all have any questions, feel free to hit me up about it. I'm all ears. It'll be a day that ends with Y. That's for sure. It'll definitely be on a day that ends with Y. So yeah, if y'all have any burning questions for me, feel free to do that. I am all ears right now. I'm pretty good. After this stream, I'm gonna be going back to that good old grind. I'm actually gonna finish up another adventure that I'm writing for someone else, and then I'll be working on some of the fun D&D zine stuff. So that'll be good there. For I mentioned this before, but I'm working on 2,000 words a day ish. So, for those of you that don't write, 2,000 words might not seem that bad. But the thing to consider is there's a difference between writing and writing things that are good. Because, of course, if I just sat there at the computer, I could just, play one of those games where you write words to kill zombies or whatever. And I could do way more than 2,000 words in a day, of course. But when you're writing actual adventures and modules and advice and stuff, you want the words to actually be meaningful. So, there is that. Do you have any tips on DMing a heist session, like stealing a painting from a museum? So what I would do to dissect the heist is I'd break it up into basically 3 acts. I'd break it up into the prep and planning, the actual doing of the heist, and 3, the ramifications of their consequences. So for the very beginning of that heist, your players have to know the following information. What are they trying to get? What's guarding it? What resources do we need in order to get it? What are we going to be, going across? What do we have? What are we good at? What are we bad at? Your players need to know this information. And then they collect all this information and they say, okay, well, we know that the painting's in here, and for the painting for the museum, we know this painting's in the museum. Okay, what's guarding it? Okay, there's a glass case. All right, what do we know about the glass case? Is it magical? Is it not magical? Okay, it is magical. Okay, so now that we know that it's magical, what kind of magic's on it? Basically, you have to break down these sequence of events. What I would strongly suggest is your players are not your characters. This is an important piece of information. Your players are not your characters. There are things your characters are always going to do, or always think about, or do in the background that your players never think of. I think the most common one of this is your characters go to the bathroom. Your players don't think about your characters going to the bathroom, but your characters do that. For the instances of stealing the painting for the museum, the characters would presumably bring pieces of like supplies to this heist, right? You shouldn't punish the players for not thinking of every tiny, minute little detail, because in reality, the characters would have done that, right? It's like, oh, we go to the museum. Oh, Billy forgot the crowbar. Billy would have remembered to bring the crowbar to the heist, right? So what I would suggest is, if they show up to the heist place without a certain piece of item, then either one, you just hand wave and say, of course you would have brought that. Or 2, maybe you incorporate some sort of luck check. Maybe you say, hey, is your character wise enough to have brought this item? Roll wisdom check. Or maybe you just have them roll a flat d20 and oh, because your character is pretty smart, on a 3 through 20, you totally would have brought that, but on a 1 or a 2, you would have like been a dummy and left it at home. That is what I strongly recommend. And then so the prep and planning for the heist, and then the doing of the heist. When you're doing the doing of the heist, it always feels bad to prep everything properly and then be done over because you rolled bad. Because, oh, I rolled a 1 here. It's always important to recognize when to have there be rolls and for when there to be automatic successes. You know, if the thief-like character is scaling around the room, do they really need to roll in acrobatics if they've got this huge plus to it and they're stuck to the wall and they're doing all these things? I would say no. Recognize when to have them roll for things and recognize when to not have them roll for things. And then thirdly, the suffering the consequences of their actions. So whether they succeed or fail in this heist, you know, let's say for the instances they succeed. They steal the painting. Well, guess what? Unless they put an exact replica up there, unless they didn't destroy any piece of property, unless they didn't get into any altercation with any of the guards, unless they did all of those, you know, unless they got away completely scot-free, then there is no consequences. But more than likely, something's going to happen, right? More than likely, someone's going to notice the painting's missing. More than likely, you know, they had to mess with the glass around it somehow. More than likely, a guard got into a fight with them and maybe recognizes one of them. How do you deal with those consequences? How do they interact with the rest of the story at hand? Think about, one, not only should you be thinking about that, but your players should be thinking about the consequences of their actions as well. So yeah, that's my advice on running heist. Love to see the roadmap. Great ideas. So I'm going to have a much more planned roadmap ahead of time in the upcoming month. Definitely by the end of December, I'm going to have a much more structured idea of, not just idea, but actual physical representation of what the future is to come for the channel in regards of what videos are coming out, in regards of what zines are coming out, in regards of my mega dungeon, in regards of the adventures, all that fun jazz. 2,000 per day every day is a lot. So the thing is, I'm actually very good. I'm you know, I hate tooting my own horn here. I'm actually very good at writing more than 2,000 words a day. But the funny thing is I cannot write 2,000 words a day for a single project. If I sat down and I worked a air quote 9-to-5 job, if I did 8 hours of writing in a day, I could easily bang out 2,000 plus words a day, no problem. But I cannot do it for a single thing. So, for example, right now is I'm writing adventures for this other guy. For the life of me, I just sit down and I know for a fact what I'm going to be writing. But then I hit like a 1,500-ish words, and then I'm like, oh man, I just can't. I just can't. But what I do is, thankfully, because I've got a whole bunch of things going on, I can just switch over to something else. I do 1,500 words of adventure for this one person. Oh, that's great. Then I'll go ahead and I'll work on my zine, or I'll work on my mega dungeon. And then boom. Even though I'm not writing 2,000 words for any one project, I'm still writing a bunch. And I'm actually perfectly fine with that. And that's honestly one thing that's going to be, I think, really great for my magazine, is that I'm not writing a whole one thing. It's not going to be all just one big adventure. I at least can have different creative ideas for the things. I'll be writing up a bit of an article, and then I'll be halfway through the article, and I'll be like, I want to write up some rollable tables. And then I go write up some rollable tables. I want to write up now, like, the adventure. And then, I want to write up the subclass. I want to write up magical items. So at least I can keep on bouncing around, and then, I eventually just finish it all in one go, and then I'm Gucci. So I'm really excited for that. If Nasty Nork from Spyro the Dragon was a 5e monster, what monster stat block would you mimic or homebrew him? Nasty Nork. Oh, God. It's been 8... I'll tell you what. Last time I played Spyro was I was at somebody's house and it was on a Dreamcast. So that tells you something there. Nasty Nork. Images here. Nasty Nork, I think I would probably just take a Orc War Chief stat block and then add some fun little flavor to it. So, speaking of that, so one aspect of my D&D zine is I'm going to be having monsters, and I'm more than likely going to have I'm more than likely going to have multiple monsters in every single zine, just because monsters are just a great addition. So I don't know how many of y'all saw this, but semi-recently I made a video on monster attacks suck. In that, I basically introduced a new way of incorporating attacks. Instead of it just being monsters with multi-attack and rolling to hit, and that's the end of story, I introduced a way to incorporate stats into attacking. So I'm going to be doing both. I'm going to be introducing monsters that have the normal, roll to attack and then roll to wounds. But then I'm also going to be incorporating monsters with unique attacks that are more than just I roll to attack. So there's that. You'll definitely see that come. Thank you. That helped a lot. I agree completely with knowing when to roll and when not to roll. For sure. For sure. I will say, if it's the loud raging barbarian that has never stealthed a day in their life, then for sure they're gonna have to roll. But if it's the master class thief that's got a plus 17 to their stealth or whatever it is, do they really need to roll? I mean, also very important is automatic natural ones do not mean automatic failure for skill checks, people. It doesn't mean that. If you are a rogue, for example, in this case, and you have a plus 11 to your sneak, at the bare minimum, you still have a 12 to your sneak. It doesn't mean automatic failure. So, always remember, natural 20s don't always mean success. Natural 1s do not always mean failure. In 5th edition, natural 1s and 20s are only automatic success and failure when it comes to attacking. Just want to say thank you for the series. They've been really cool and helpful for me when prepare for sessions. Thank you, Awesome Gamer. Thank you. That's why I made them, because I knew a lot of people only have so much time in the world of prep, and when you know it, you pop on my video about what you're about to run next, whether that be this part of a dungeon or, this little monster or whatever. That's why I do it. Dreamcast plus. I never owned a Dreamcast, sadly. The first gaming console I owned was an N64. I was not fortunate enough to have a Dreamcast. But I do remember going over to other people's houses and them having Dreamcast. I'm actually curious. I kind of want to. I want to look up the game lineup for the Dreamcast, because I remember it not having the worst lineup of games. Great, thanks. My wife is playing Spyro as a Dragonborn in our Curse Draw campaign. I'm having Gnorc. Is it? I don't even know. I don't even remember it. Is it pronounced Gnorc? Is it Nork? I'm not entirely sure. Gnorc being Agent of Strahd, who is the one who has slain Argynvostholt. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Always remember, people, never run any adventure module as written ever. You run your own adventure module. You make that adventure your own. That could be literally as simple as, changing a name, or that could be as complex as turning Curse of Strahd into Spyro. The G is silent. Nork. Okay. I kind of like the idea of like a dumb Gnoblin or something like that. I'm not a Gnoblin. I'm a Gnome. God, that meme's popped up quite a few times in the past few years. Yeah, so I'm actually being inspired by this adventure in particular, the Doom That Saved Christmas Town. I definitely, in the upcoming time, I want to make So not only is there going to be themes of, like I said before, like winter, and then themes of like hell, and theme like city and whatever else, I do also want to get into incorporating themes that are relative to our holidays. Like I definitely want to make a good old-fashioned Valentine's Day adventure. I think that could be a ton of fun. I want to make a Christmas adventure. I want to make a Thanksgiving adventure. God, how many holidays are there these days? I guess St. Patrick's Day adventure. I guess. Can't do. I'm trying to remember what other. I mean, yeah, you could Is there a thing for every single month? Is there a holiday for every single month? I don't think there is. Not for the U.S. anyway. There's obviously way more holidays than just one celebrated in the U.S. I know, and I could easily incorporate those, and that'd be a ton of fun. Oh, Dia de los Muertos. Dia de los Muertos could be a really fun adventure to be had there. Day of the Dead. Because you don't need to reserve skeletons just for Halloween. You can do Dia de los Muertos. Yeah, there's a lot of fun things to be had there. Alrighty. Ugh. Alrighty, folks, just a few more minutes, and then I'll put my nose back to the grind. So any more questions, statements, concerns, any observations you might have about the future to come, more than happy to accept anything. I will tell you, the most important thing I need more than anything else is feedback. Feedback, people. When I do things, I need people to tell me if it's good, or far more importantly, I need people to tell me if it's not good. The unfortunate thing is I really need feedback, but I think a lot of people are afraid of hurting my feelings. I think a lot of people are afraid of telling it like it is. I think a lot of people are afraid of, stating what might be for them obvious, but for me it's not obvious. I need feedback. And the unfortunate nature is people don't, like I just mentioned, people are maybe afraid of hurting my feelings. I don't care. I need you all to tell me if like I put out a video and it sucks. I need you all to tell me if I make this D&D zine and it's god awful. I need people to tell me these things, because if no one gives me any feedback, I'm not going to improve. I only improve when I am told what I'm doing good and when I'm not doing good. So please, please, please give me feedback whenever possible on anything. I need to be better at asking for feedback. I should make that a bit more obvious to people. I want feedback. I'm always trying to do new things. I'm not always trying to do new things, but I'm occasionally trying to innovate the channel. I'm trying to innovate my workings, and sometimes that may take me in a direction that people don't like. That's perfectly fine. It's important to try new things, because if I try something new, it's either going to be good, or more importantly, it's not going to be good. But steering clear of the things that are not good is the way to go. I've just recently found your channel, but you are a treasure for DMs. All your guides are supremely made. I have them on bookmark. Thank you. Thank you. More guides to come. More guides to come for all your running goodness. Duel. All I can say is keep up the great work. Thank you. I will keep up the work that you deem great. And that's what I'll say. Once again, greatest objective. But if you tell me that I'm doing great, then I'm all for that. Also, speaking of trying to improve my works here, I have just now realized I've got a whole little thing above me that was supposed to be for the comments section, but I didn't link it because you've got to do this like thing like right as you upload the stream to have comments turn on, and I didn't do that. So I've got a whole little pocket there of nothing. Whatever. That's not the important part. If you're watching this stream, I think you can already pull up the live chat anyway. What are my top 3 third-party books? First and foremost, my top third-party book would be the Lazy DM's Guide series. He's had 2 books now. He's got a big book, and he's got a book that just killed it on Kickstarter. From Mike Shea of Sly Flourish. I say it's so weird. Flourish. So the Lazy DM Prep Guide is a really great way to remind yourself not to get swamped. Because when we are running games, we need to run the game as smoothly as possible. And his book covers how to run the book, or run your adventure, in a way that it's concise, coherent, and most important of all, going to be upfront with your party. There's great guides in there on how to set up the session, set up specifically the very next session. Set up things that you are 100% going to incorporate. Set up things that you may incorporate. Set up the things that are going to foreshadow the session to come. Foreshadow these things, because I find a lot of people look at these adventures, and this is specifically the 5e modules. They think to themselves, man, I've got to prep so much because the adventure's so big. No, screw that. Do not prep the whole adventure. The most important thing you need to prep for is the very next session. So that goes in there. So definitely a number 1 pick for top 3 third-party books. In regards of other top third-party books, I'd probably say if you're looking for monsters, then Kobold Press has an excellent bestiary. Absolutely fantastic bestiary. And mind you, it's not just one bestiary. They have multiple bestiaries at this point. I think they have like 4, maybe, of just like overall generic D&D monsters that can fit into a lot of different things. I think they also have one that's like more themed, but definitely Kobold Press's Tome of Beast and Little Critters and all that fun stuff. Definitely a great one. And number 3 for top 3 third-party books. That's a tough one. God dang. For example, top 3 third-party book would be the Adventure Module by good old JVC Perry. And this Adventure Module is Call of the Deep. I was getting this confused with Call from the Netherdeep, which is the Critical Role one. But Call of the Deep is a very, very awesome adventure module that absolutely destroyed it on DM's Guild. It was the top sellingest thing ever on the DM's Guild. So very, very good props to JVC Perry for that excellent module. If you're looking for a module that takes place all in and around the Sword Coast and deals with nautical themes, then look no further than that. Although sadly, I think Wizards of the Coast was stepping on JVC's toes there by making Call from the Netherdeep. I guess we'll have to see how comparable they are to each other. Didn't get a chance to see this from the beginning, but wanted to say congrats on 5K subs, well deserved. Tabletop Bob, you're gonna get there too someday. I will say that, because you cover adventure modules and you do live plays, and you are absolutely gonna get there someday. So thank you for the congrats, but you are going to get there someday. What I will say, though, is well-deserved is obviously subjective. I think that there is a lot of people on this platform that have a lot of subs that don't deserve it. And I think that there's a lot of people who don't have that many subs who deserve more. Well-deserved is subjective. But if you're telling me that you think that I deserved it, then thank you. I don't know if I deserved it. But, to each their own. Tome of Beast 2, and Creature Codex Supreme books, agreed. Absolutely. What I will say, though, is if you're looking at a monster for Wizard of the Coast and you look at the CR rating versus if you look at Tome of Beast and look at their CR rating, they're incomparable. A CR3 creature from Tome of Beast is infinitely stronger than a CR3 beast from Wizard of the Coast. So keep that in mind. Just know that the CR doesn't actually mean what you think it means. And that is, of course, coming from Wizard of the Coast, too, because CR is a terrible system. CR never works ever. So there's that to keep in mind. You deserve so much attention than you currently get. Congrats for the top-notch materials and guides. You are truly inspiring. Thank you so much. Once again, deserve is certainly subjective, but I certainly am appreciative of the fact that you think that I deserve it. Thank you so much. Truly inspiring. I probably would be a bard classified, I guess, if I was a level of any class, I'd probably be a bard. Funnily enough, though, I did see I saw a video from I think it was Nerd Immersion, and he said if you could pick any level if you could be level 1 from any class, what would you be in the real world? And I think I saw a lot of people pick bard, but here's the thing. I would pick wizard. You know why I'd pick wizard? Think about how many spells I could get. If you pick any other class of any degree, then you're kind of stuck with whatever you get right there from the beginning. But wizard, you've got potential. You've got a lot of things going on for you. After 6 years of DMing, I have learned that CR means nothing. I look at the stats and judge for myself. Never killed a party yet. I'll tell you what, after however many years of DMing I've been doing, I've learned that CR means nothing. But unfortunately, I have killed many a party in my time. But I've killed parties not because of CR rating. I've killed parties purely because of the situations that they get themselves into. Just from Dane, just want to drop in and say thanks for all your great content. Thank you for dropping in, Dane. Thank you so much. I'm wrapping it up here in a few minutes, but thank you all so very much for the stream. This was an absolute delight. This was an absolute blast. You guys have made this truly a wonderful experience. My channel has been absolutely a blessing in a vaguely strange, mysterious guise, I guess. It's definitely been great because this YouTube channel has been a way for me to get my foot in the door of other things that I've been wanting to do. For example, being the magazine. I've always wanted to do a bunch of writing, but I feel like without this channel, I wouldn't have been able to do that because who would just, buy a random person's D&D zine? But at least if I'm getting the word out through my own advertising, then maybe I can get the D&D zine into the hands of other people. And, of course, the freelance writing that I'm doing for other people is awesome. I get to write scripts and adventures and whatever else for other people. That's totally cool. I'm getting to work on these things that I feel like I probably would not have been able to do before. And it's awesome. So thank you all. As mentioned before, just being here, just watching, just liking, just subscribing, sharing this, doing literally one thing helps me out immensely. So if you are listening to this, then you are doing at least one of those things. Hell yeah, man. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Nick. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have you already, or do you plan to publish an adventure? I absolutely do. So I've got the D&D zine that I plan on publishing, but I also have something that I teased before. I'm working on a mega dungeon, but the mega dungeon is not going to be anywhere comparable to, like, let's say Waterdeep Dungeon the Mad Mage. It's not gonna be like that. It's not gonna be. It's gonna be its own separate entity in regards to what a mega dungeon is. But here's a fun little teaser here for what I've got for this this here adventure that I do plan on publishing. Basically, the concept of this dungeon is that you are trapped in this dungeon and you are trying to get out. And that's something that separates it from other mega dungeons, because I feel like with other mega dungeons, you are just continuously grinding your way in, versus I want it to be a fun jaunt in the dungeon and you just making your way out. I think that'll be I think that's what I'm going for. So me personally, I have not published adventures, but I've actually written adventures for other people, and those are being published. So I guess in a way, yes. I guess technically I've published adventures. Technically. And in fact, right now, I'm not going to get into the deets here, but no, the major deets anyway. But I'm actually working on a string of adventures for someone who is going to release a large string of adventures. So there is that. I really hope that one comes out awesome. Oh man, oh man. Anything else? Anything else? Anything else y'all got for me? Whew. Man, oh man. Neat. That's a great idea. I have been playing Hades, the video game, lately, and the concept of escaping from such a place is really appealing. Absolutely. You know, because I find that, like, a lot of the overwhelming majority of adventures, it is basically you have to come up with a drive to push yourself forward. And, you know, whether that be these adventure modules that we have where it's like, okay, here's the quest, here's why you want to complete the quest. I think the very simple premise of, hey, you're trapped, get out, is a very appealing drive. It's very upfront. It's not trying to deceive you. It's just straight up, hey, you know, you're in a place that you don't want to be in. Get out. Simple as that. I think it's a very, very simple, overlooked thing. How do you like Beyond the Witchlight? Would you recommend? I absolutely would recommend asterisk. Big asterisk. While Beyond the Witchlight is a fun, jovial little adventure through a fairy tale-like area. But, the unfortunate nature is that if you have a group that doesn't care so much about roleplay, if you have a group that is always see a monster, kill a monster, if you have a group that is just always racing to the finish line, if you have a group that basically wants to cut every corner and not deal with the little trivial things like interacting with these NPCs or, you know, dealing with these puzzles or whatever, then Witchlight is not for that group. Witchlight is for the group that wants a fun, jovial romp through a faith-themed adventure. Witchlight is for a group that loves to roleplay. It's for a group that loves the intricacies of going into a world they've never been to before and operating on a different set of rules. It's for a group that loves lower-level play. While admittedly, yes, you can change Witchlight to be a higher-level play, the higher level play you add, obviously the more crazy, weird, wacky things that you have to do to accommodate for it. So Witchlight is, I think, a very good adventure. though it is not for every group. What I will say, though, is I'm running it right now, and my group has only been in 2 combats the entire game. And we're on like session 15 or whatever. That sounds very appealing for some people. I know for a fact. I know people are like, oh man, I love roleplay. I love exploration. But most important of all is I know for a fact there's a lot of people that love combat. And yes, Witchlight can absolutely have combat. And I will actually argue that the combat that is to be had in Witchlight is actually a ton of fun. It is not wrap around the corner combat. It is not you open the door and there's some orcs combat. It is more so very more narrative driven combat. And for some that is very appealing, but more importantly for some that is not appealing. So take it with a grain of salt. If you want more on how the adventure is sort of ran, then I would recommend checking out my series on it. Running Dragon Heist, transitioning to Descent into Avernus using the Castellanters as villain in Dragon Heist. What do you think about Descent? Here's what I think about Descent. 1, that adventure actually has my name in it. That's the only 5e module that's got my full name in the book, so I love it. But that being said, Descent into Avernus is unfortunately not the most well-written book around. So what I will say is, I think Descent has a great theme going on. It's got a great scenario. It's got a great bunch of NPCs. The unfortunate aspect of it, though, is that it requires a lot of legwork from you. I think I did a video on like how much prep is needed for all the 5e modules. Descent needs some prep, let me tell you. Descent needs you to finely tune it to your group. Because as written, it's not going to appeal to a lot of groups. It certainly can be shifted into a lot of different ways. Whether that be you run it as a Mad Mech style, going through the crazy hell, all that fun jazz. It could be the diplomacy style where you're dealing with all these factions. It could be the rip-roaring, your awesome adventures and you're fighting devils left, right, and center. It could be a bunch of things. But as written, it's probably not going to be for you. Just from my own personal perspectives and what I've seen a lot of people say, it's probably not going to be perfect, but it can be. It just requires a lot of DM elbow grease to make work. Hey, monkey. Hey, monkey. Taking that as a hook, what was the best combat you have ever run? Taking that as a hook. What is the best combat I've ever run? The best combat I ever ran, I think, and that's a tough one. I've ran some really memorable combats in my day. I think one that narratively really struck home with me was, funnily enough, something that had only a tiny bit of narrative tied to it. Basically, the group fought a demi-lich. And they had been told about this demi-lich. They had seen this demi-lich from a distance. But they basically went into it sort of blind. And what made the combat so good was that I told my player straight up, hey, I know this is 5e. I know I've been running for these PCs for a long time now. But if you guys mess up, you're going to die. This villain wants you dead. It's a very good chance, someone's going to die here. And demi-liches, if you don't know, they have a howl ability. And this howl ability reads as follows. Everyone that can hear it all around has to make a con saving throw of a high DC. I think it's like a DC of 15 or 16. If you fail, you drop down to 0. Simple as that. And right from the get-go, right in the beginning of the fight, boom, 3 of my PCs go down. And I think to myself, oh God, it's over. Because, mind you, I never run villains ever by themselves, ever. Never do it. Never run villains by themselves. This Demi-Lich had a whole bunch of minions alongside them. So then I was just thinking to myself, oh my god, this Demi-Lich and all these people are going to freaking kill my party. It's going to be terrible. But me not holding back, because I roll out in the open, because my players know full well what the monsters are capable of, my players knew that I was not holding back, and they somehow pulled through, and it was incredible combat. I like that freeform stuff, though. I think it'll be good. Thanks. Yeah, so I will say Descent into Avernus is definitely worthwhile looking into, because I think you can make hell a hell of a time. It's well worth making. What I will say, though, is you can kind of skip over the Baldur's Gate portion of the adventure, is what I'll say. The Baldur's Gate portion of the adventures just doesn't need to be there, in my books. Especially because you are, as you stated, you're starting with Descent. You're starting with Dragon Heist. Easy skip. Just easily skip over Baldur's Gate and just send your player straight to hell and have a good time. Alrighty, I think I'm gonna close it out in 5 minutes then, because I got so distracted. So yeah, 5 more minutes, and then I'll do it as a hard cutoff, and then we'll be Gucci. So y'all got any more burning questions or any complaints, concerns, notifications? If y'all got anything, lay it on me. I'm all ears. I am all ears. Uh, 100%. Duel, what is your preferred VTT? I'm using Roll20, but consider switching to Foundry. So, what I'll say is, Roll20 is great for what it does. Roll20 is great for the fact that if you want to, it can be free. But, if you want some of the finer details, you have to pay for it. Therein lies the issue. If you are paying for this service, you are basically, so like for the Roll20, you pay an extra $5 a month. For that $5 a month, you're getting a little bit more. You're getting the dynamic lighting, and you're getting, you get to have like more in like the memory to not memory, but you get more things or whatever, and then you don't get the ads. But think of the long term. Think of the long term. So with Roll20, the great thing about Roll20 is they have the integrations of all of the other stuff. You can buy like all of the 5e modules through them. You can buy all the books through them. And more importantly, is there's a whole bunch of other game systems you can buy stuff through. And people make a whole bunch of assets for Roll20. People are making maps. Monkey makes maps for Roll20. But if you're thinking of the long-term things, Foundry is a one-time purchase of $50. And that's that, end of story, no monthly. What you are getting with that is you are being given a fountain, a full mountain, in fact, of user-created content. Because Foundry is purely community-driven. All of the character sheets and all of the add-on modules and all of the special features and effects, it's all community-driven. I will tell you, Foundry Vanilla is better than Roll20 normal. Without a shadow of it. Or Roll20 with $5 a month. So that does mean that Roll20 is going to cost you more in the long run, because Foundry, like I said, one-time purchase, boom. You got it forever and all the time. Roll20, you got to keep on paying into it. But you just basically have to consider the luxuries that Roll20 gives you and the luxuries Foundry gives you. If you are okay with importing the modules yourself, if you're okay with not having to worry about the overhead of paying for it nonstop, then Foundry is the way to go. But if you like the fact that you can get all the modules from Roll20, if you like the fact that you can get a whole bunch of fun little add-ons to it, if you're okay with the very little overhead, or if you're going for the free one, then just none at all, then Roll20 is the way to go. What I will say is there's more VTTs coming in the future. And those things I think are going to blow some of the other VTTs out of the water. I saw a Tailspire. Tailspire looks really cool. I haven't seen it actually in use, but I've seen it like partially used, and it looks really good. So that might be popping soon. And I think a Shard tabletop, Owlbear Rodeo, a whole bunch of other things. So keep your eyes peeled for other VTTs. What adventure do you want to see in Faerun? Which setting, maybe which year? I want to see a desert-themed adventure because we have been given biomes such as jungle, such as wintry landscapes, such as water, such as, we've been given all these biomes. I want a desert-themed adventure because I love the desert. The desert is tied pretty much with me for most favorite biomes. Let's see. What do I think about Fizzbands? I think Fizzbands is good if you're a dragon lover, but if you are not infatuated with dragons, then it may be a skip. Hi, Trevor. Congratulations. Hey, Fred from How to D&D. Vitor, love your channel. We'll keep watching. Great job. Thank you, Vitor. Like I said before, any little bit helps, and you just watching and commenting already helps immensely. So thank you so very much. I ended up paying to have a Forge server, which I do not regret. That's perfectly fine. So you can run Foundry without paying for a monthly service, but there is a monthly service you can do to host a server. That is certainly something you can do, and I see nothing but people praising for that. Me personally, I'm running a Foundry, and I am not paying for the Forge. Which is like its own private server, but to each their own. I haven't tried it yet, but maybe someday I'll try it. Monkey, I personally use Roll20 because the compendium, but hands down, Foundry is a better VTT all around. I just find that time saving of the compendium and the modules to be worth it for me, absolutely. Also, I do make maps for Roll20, but I do also make my stuff available for Foundry through my Patreon. Heck yeah. Agreed, Callum Ports, great setting. More settings. We need more settings. Roll20 or Wizard Coast. We need more. I love the fact that with Foundry, if I want a thing, it's a responsive community. So many people building modules for it. Yeah, I remember distinctly when Foundry first came out, and I looked at it and I was like, man, there's literally nothing here. And then flash forward 3 years later, wow, there's everything here. So the fact that there's already these hundreds of different game systems already being ported into Foundry and all the additional, add-on modules and stuff that you can put into it is absolutely fantastic. I mean, a map can be imported anywhere. True. Absolutely. But what I'm saying for Roll20 is, the great thing about Roll20 is that instead of buying a physical book, you could just straight up buy, the adventure from Roll20 and just have all the info in there. It saves your life because you don't have to import anything. It's all right there. +1 for Calimport. Heck yeah. I still dream that one day we shall see Dark Sun in 5e. So, Greg Tito mentioned that. Greg Tito, for those of you that don't know, is a big wig in the Wizard of the Coast space. And he mentioned on Twitter that if he said hypothetically if Dark Sun was coming, then here's some things that we would do about it. But that was not to say that they were saying absolutely that Dark Sun's coming. It's just saying he was just saying that if it were to come, then Dark Sun would need to change, because for those of you that don't know, Dark Sun has some things in it that wouldn't sit well with today's day and age. There's some themes going on there. There's some that don't sit well with today's, trying to think. It's not political. It's more so in just the nature of our civilized society, I guess. I don't know. What sort of live stream do you plan to have? I don't know. It might be a game. It might be me just talking. Q&As. Might be a bunch of other things. I haven't figured that out yet, but I will be bouncing that back to my community. Just play Dark Sun in 5e. Why not? I agree. I see a lot of people clamor for things, and then I simply say, well, you can easily just, make it yourself if you're willing to put in the time. But we can, but an official book would be nice. It would be. It absolutely would be. Instead of having to dive through the tomes. instead of diving through all the tomes of like, oh, if I want to run, oh my god, Greyhawk. If I want to run Greyhawk, instead of going through the first and second editions and all that stuff, it is just super easy for 5e just to give us Greyhawk, right? He's describing why that would be bad for the setting. So Dark Sun could work in 5e. Dark Sun could work today. It certainly could. They would just have to change some things, and I think it could work perfectly fine. I know there was a Kickstarter semi-recently for a Dark Sun-esque setting for 5e, and I don't think it did that well in the Kickstarter, if I recall. I think it got funded, but I don't think it like knocked it out of the park like some of the other Kickstarters. Alrighty. Yeah, so thank you all so much. Thank you all so very, very much for showing up, for commenting, for lurking, for watching this, for liking, for subscribing, for watching all my other content. For the people that are my patrons, thank you so much. Thank you for the people that donated today. You all, no matter what you do, just being here helps. And I can't stress that enough. So thank you all so incredibly much. For those of you that didn't, one last time here, I'll take a look at a peek here. The things we accomplished: a bunch of subs, a bunch of views, a whole bunch of videos on the channel, a whole bunch of watch time. The things I'm working on right now: the Witchlight Guide series, finishing up my quick DM advice. I'm writing adventures for other people. I'm working on the Mega Dungeon. I'm working on my No Fun Allowed zine, which I'll be coming out with more details on that in the coming month. And the things I plan for the future is I'm going to be diving headlong into that zine because it's going to have a bunch of fun goodies in it. I'm going to be doing some D&D shorts because shorts are just a fun little thing to do. I'm going to be covering one module. It might be Ghost of Saltmarsh. It might be Tales from the Yawning Portal. It might be Descent into Avernus. Who knows? I'll be putting up a poll, most likely. I'll be running games for my community in the coming soon, so join my Discord and you can get all the fine details for that. And I'm more than likely going to do more live streams because live streams are fun. So that is all the info I've got to convey there. Will I be kickstarting my stuff? I'm not going to be kickstarting the zine because the zine's just going to be on my Patreon and it's going to be all PDF. That being said, though, the Mega Dungeon I'm working on, I could certainly kickstart that. I could certainly see myself kickstarting that. The thing, though, is I'm not going to dive into a Kickstarter before I have at least 90% of the product completed, because I have seen far too many times people trying to sell their proof of concepts and it fails. The only way I would do a Kickstarter is saying, hey, I have this much done. I need to do, I need editors. I need artwork. And that is where the Kickstarting is going to come in, and you give me the money. I'm going to convert that money into, the awesome art and the awesome editing, and bada bing, bada boom. Will there be more Villains Voiced videos? I certainly plan on it. I just haven't had any time recently. I'm going to do some for a while beyond the Witchlight, I believe. Yeah, I'll be covering that. That being said, if I do Ghost of Saltmarsh and Tales from the Yawning Portal, there's no Villains Voiced I would do for any of those because the adventures are so short. I feel like there wouldn't be any need for them. But I definitely plan on doing more Villains Voiced because I always find those pretty fun. So that is what is coming up for me in the future. That's what I'm working on. That's what I've got to sell you all. That's what I've got cooking in the kitchen, the proverbial D&D kitchen. What is my current day job? My current day job is I'm going to school. So I'm going to school. But that being said, I'm not gonna, not to jinx myself here, I am not putting all my eggs in one basket. I have no idea if YouTube and making adventures and doing Kickstarters and whatever else, I don't know if that could become a full-time job anytime soon. But if there was any possibility that I could become a full-time freelance writer for other people and putting out my own content, I would love that. I would certainly love that. I'd be very happy with that for sure. Will there be more Dungeon Master Roundtable discussions? Yes, of course there will. I'm showing up on Thursday. Dragon Heist could be good if there are a lot of great villains. I absolutely plan on doing a villain's voice for that, because I did my series on Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and absolutely there's a ton of great villains to do on that. Nice. Thummies uppies. That is once again, thank you all so very much. This was absolutely a blast. Thank you. Are you studying writing? No, I should though. I did. Fun fact about my formal education: I have not done anything in regards of actual studying for writing, and yet for some strange reason, I'm a freelance writer. Go figure, right? It goes to show you that you don't need a formal education to do what you love. I certainly love writing adventures and a whole bunch of fun things. I certainly should think about taking some classes on writing to see if that improves my writing game. Should certainly see if I can do that. But that will be for a future time. That is gonna do it for me, though. Thank you all so very much for watching. Thank you all so very much for listening. Thank you all so very much for commenting, for liking, for subscribing, for Patreoning me, for donating to me, for joining the Discord, for whatever it is that you do in any way, shape, or form. Whatever it is that you do, you've helped me out in some capacity, and that is more than I could ask for. So thank you all so very much. That is going to do it for me, and I cannot wait to show you all what I've got cooking at a later time.